How would you react if we told you that the greatest explorer in history might not be who you think it is? Yes, names like Christopher Columbus and Vasco da Gama often echo in the annals of exploration. They've been hailed for their daring voyages, for venturing into the unknown, and for changing the world as we know it. But what if I told you there was another, a figure from the East, whose accomplishments dwarf those of his Western counterparts? This brings us to Zheng He, a man whose story remains shrouded in mystery to many. A mariner, explorer, diplomat and fleet admiral during China's early Ming Dynasty. His voyages took him and his gigantic fleet to the farthest reaches of the known world, long before Columbus or da Gama ever set sail. So, who exactly was Zheng He, and what makes his voyages stand out? Born in 1371 during the Ming Dynasty, Zheng He was not always an explorer. His early years were marked by tumult and hardship. Captured during the Ming conquest of Yunnan, he was castrated and sent to serve in the imperial palace, a common fate for many captives of the time. Despite these early trials, Zheng He's intelligence and diligence shone through, turning adversity into opportunity. He quickly rose through the ranks, becoming a trusted advisor to the prince who would eventually become Emperor Yongle. Zheng He's loyalty to Yongle was unquestionable, his strategic acumen invaluable during the prince's rise to power. His leadership skills were equally impressive, earning him the respect of the court and a high-ranking position as an admiral in the imperial navy. Yet his journey was just beginning. But it wasn't until Yongle's reign that Zheng He's destiny as an explorer began to unfold. From 1405 to 1433, Zheng He led 7 grand voyages, setting sail with a massive fleet. Imagine a fleet so grand, it boasted more than 300 ships, with the largest ones dwarfing even the biggest European vessels of the time. This was no small operation. It was a floating city, housing over 27,000 people, including sailors, soldiers, carpenters, interpreters, and even medical personnel. Zheng He's voyages were not just for show. The fleet sailed to over 30 modern-day nations and regions, covering an impressive distance that spanned from Southeast Asia to the eastern coast of Africa. These voyages presented a complex logistical challenge, coordinating and provisioning such a large fleet over vast distances, a feat unparalleled in maritime history. But Zheng He's journeys were about more than exploration. They were a powerful statement of China's prowess, an expression of the Ming Dynasty's ambition and reach. These voyages were not just about exploration, but a display of China's might and a quest for diplomatic relations. Zheng He's voyages were more than a century ahead of Europe's age of discovery. This fact alone should make us pause and reconsider our understanding of global exploration. Unlike many of his counterparts who came later, Zheng He embarked on his journeys with a spirit of peace and diplomacy. His voyages were not marred by conquest or bloodshed, but were instead aimed at fostering relationships, extending the reach of the Ming Dynasty, and promoting trade. He charted a course that expanded the known world, and in doing so, he changed our understanding of geography forever. His voyages took him to the edges of the known world, and the information he brought back transformed the way people thought about the planet. These diplomatic and trade relations he established were the first steps towards globalization, creating pathways that later explorers would follow. So while Zheng He may not be a household name like Columbus or Vasco da Gama, his achievements place him at the pinnacle of the world's great explorers. Zheng He's achievements were extraordinary, and his voyages were far ahead of his time. His colossal fleets sailed across unknown seas, opening up the world through trade and diplomacy, not conquest. His peaceful expeditions were a testament to his skill in negotiation, transforming the face of global exploration. The scale of his expeditions, the breadth of his reach, was simply unmatched. So, when we talk about the greatest explorers in history, Zheng He deserves to be at the top of that list.